Hey guys, Tyler Ansman here with Tyler Ansman Performance. So today we're going to continue kind of our weekly pitching development thoughts. And today, kind of the overarching thought is that consistency trumps intensity, okay? So let's think about this from like a more general standpoint. We all probably have those family members who have been, sedentary for a few years. And they're like, I'm going to get back in shape. So they make this plan, generally around New Year's. And they're like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. All right, I'm gonna cut out all junk food and I'm gonna read 30 books in a month, right? Full on self-development plan. And so what kind of happens is they go from 0 to 1,000,000, and it's a really extreme transition and generally unsustainable for a couple of reasons. One, you're completely unprepared for what you're about to do to yourself. So that soreness and all of those things is really gonna catch up to you. Two, you haven't built in any habits, all right? Three, we have this kind of cascading failure issue. And so like, let's say for example, you're like, I'm gonna eat no junk food. You have a donut in the morning on Tuesday. You're like, well, I already messed that up, so it's gonna be a cheat day. Well, I'm already cheating today, so why don't I just not go to the gym either? And it becomes this thing, and then it ruins your whole week, and then you're kind of completely off that cycle. Whereas if you just made more reasonable goals to start off, right? I'm gonna train 2 days a week at the gym. I'm gonna go for a couple 30-minute walks this week, and I'm gonna track my calories just to kind of see where I'm at and monitor my weight each morning. Right? That's very sustainable, and even if you miss a day here or there, you've got kind of built-in safety nets because you can make up the day here or there, and it's very sustainable. In the beginning, that's also going to drive probably pretty impressive results if you stick with that for the long term. And then, once you're getting those results, if you decide you want to kind of add a little bit more complexity or intensity, you've kind of earned that with the habits and all these other things, and you've prepared your body for that. The same thing happens in a baseball context, right? Guys come in, they're like, I've never trained before. I want to train every day. I'm going to lift 6 days a week. I'm going to pull down 3 days a week. And at the end of this, I'm going to throw 100 and I'm going to have gained 50 pounds of muscle. And it doesn't exactly work like that for a few reasons. All right. One, like we talked about, you're completely unprepared for those things. So when we start a training program, what you want to think about is like in the beginning, it's probably going to feel a little bit easier than you want. We're not trying to have you limp out of the gym. Right? In the beginning, what are we trying to do? We're trying to make these physiological and structural changes, all right? So like this is where you're gonna see the extensive plyometrics, right? This higher volume, kind of lower intensity model with all this, because we're preparing the connective tissue, which by the way, takes about 60 days. We're preparing this for that, so that when we add more intensity, you're ready to go for that, right? You wouldn't go from not throwing a baseball for 6 months, hopefully, to then throwing a max intensity bullpen on your first day back, right? The same applies to kind of all of our training. All right, so the first piece is that you're just unprepared for that, okay? The second piece is when we're kind of newbies, we should take advantage of our newbie gains with the kind of simplest and easiest means possible. So for example, if we think about this from a weight room standpoint, beginners can kind of make strength gains with about 40% of their 1 rep max, whereas advanced lifters will need between 85 and 90% generally to make those strength gains. This is not to say that all beginners are going to stay at 40% of their 1 rep max, because they're absolutely not going to. But we really don't have to push it, right? And again, not fully prepared for that, so we kind of risk injury a little bit more there. The second piece is you're not going to maximally benefit from that. So the repeated bout effect basically says that every time you're exposed to a stimulus, right, it loses some potency. So this is a positive thing, right? This is why when you go to the gym, you do 3 sets of 5 on bench the 1 week. You're really sore that first day, but as you repeatedly do this, you're going to get better and better at it. You're going to get stronger, and you're going to acclimate to that kind of load a little bit better. This is why we need progressive overloads. You have to change some variables. The downside of this is that once you're exposed to that variable, it's less potent, so we don't drive as much stress, so we don't get as much adaptation from this specific thing. So if we think of this from a throwing standpoint, let's say you're making velocity gains and your high intensity days just involve a baseball. No real over or under load implements, anything like that. And you're kind of seeing steady increases in your velocity. We want to save those over and under load implements, right? The more intense means until we actually need them. One, you'll be more prepared when you get there, so we're risking injury ideally to a lower degree. The second piece is we're gonna need that ace up our sleeve at some point to push that adaptation further, because you'll have adapted to these simpler, easier means, okay? And so, we need intensity, right? Consistency may trump intensity, but we need intensity as well, right? It's this controlled urgency. You need to show up consistently, but you also have to kind of ball out when you get there as well, right? So one of the questions we get pretty frequently is, what are the craziest results you've seen with guys, right? And so we have guys who've gained 20 miles an hour while they've been here. But what is the common thread between them? They show up multiple times a week, every week for months and years on end, and that's how they see those results, right? It's not magic. So what you want to kind of think about when we're judging this consistency intensity continuum is that, one training session is not going to make your off season or make your career, but it can certainly break your off season, right? If we get hurt in this session, it's not helping you get any better because then you're missing time. And this is what consistency is all about. This is one of the reasons when you see guys who are consistently injured throughout their careers, not only is getting injured one time making you more likely to then get injured as you go on, it's also making you miss critical development time. So this is why those guys who can stay healthy over the long period, they may not get better immediately. They may not be the guy throwing 95 when they're 16 years old, but over the course of time, they're going to continue getting better and better and better and better because they can put in more training and practice time, okay? So we need the intensity, right? I love it when guys show up every day, but we are going to moderate how much we allow them to do and what intensity we allow them to go at, right? This is the reason there's an on-ramp. This is the reason we use extensive plyometrics. This is the reason we do all of these kind of prep phases to get you ready for all of this stuff, all right? So I love the enthusiasm. I want guys to go hard. We need all of this, but we have to kind of control that to some degree, all right? So just kind of as we're closing out, think about you want to make a change. That's awesome. Small pieces, right, stacked day by day is how you get better. Half a pound a week might not seem like a lot, and we're talking about gaining body weight. At the end of the year, that's 26 pounds. That's very, very significant. It's the same with stacking training sessions. That's how we get better. That's how we gain 20 miles an hour over the course of 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. You stack days, all right? So when you're thinking about your training this off season, consistency over intensity. Thanks for watching.